What is going on YouTube? K293 here with a remastered version of my Devil Sonic tutorial. The Devil Sonic is a hybrid in pen spinning that is a hybrid of a Twisted Sonic and a Shadow. So it looks something like this. This trick is done palm down entirely, and that is due to the fact that there is a shadow involved. You can do a Twisted Sonic, palm up or palm side, and you can do it palm down as well. Wow, I failed at that. How did I do that? But the shadow can only be done, I guess, with the exception of the inverse shadow, is pretty much done palm down. And since we are interrupting with a shadow, the shadow is done palm down, so the whole trick pretty much has to be palm down. There's no way to transition from like palm side to like the shadow. It just doesn't work that way. So anyway, it's done completely palm down. And so just like how you would do a Twisted Sonic, I tried to stop the pen, but it didn't work there. Just like you're doing when you're doing Twisted Sonic palm down, you do that you do that charge like motion interrupted by that pass reverse, and instead of catching the pen here and then letting it do its final thing, not like that. You want to get to the point where you are. I'm trying to stop it before it does that. You want to get to this point and then realize that if you're to, for example, I'm gripping it with all three of these fingers right here, right now. So realize that if you were to take your ring finger away like that, this is kind of what the shadow looks like after you've done that, like pull back and then forward motion. See what I did there? So this is, and the key point is that the momentum that you did or that you generated when you pulled your hand back and then went like this with the shadow, that same momentum is being generated, but by the Twisted Sonic part in the beginning. So it is using, because look, the pen's going here and it's making almost an entire revolution to get to here. So there's a decent amount of momentum going on by the time it gets to this point. And then from here, just pretend like, it's a shadow. Of course, I still kind of tilted my hand back and pushed it because it was from a complete standstill. But when you have that momentum from the Twisted Sonic, I was trying to get it to stop on my hand like that. You'll notice that it has plenty of momentum to be able to do the Sonic, or at least to be able to spin on top of your hand. And I'm purposely not catching it because if you guys are trying to learn this trick and you still are a little bit shaky with the shadow, you're still a little bit shaky with the timing, first of all, the shadow is a prereq for this trick. So if you don't have that down at least a decent bit in terms of the consistency, then try to learn that and try to master it before you come here, because it's just going to make this trick a lot more difficult, a lot more frustrating, and we don't want frustrated people when they learn pen spinning. So come back when you've mastered the shadow, and you'll realize that it's fairly easy to at least keep the pen near your hand or on top of your fingers. And maybe if you're still kind of struggling with that with a shadow and you're trying to learn this anyway, despite what I just said, try to practice that release. And even if you have mastered the shadow, sometimes getting to the point where you can release it from the Twisted Sonic side of things is different than what you're used to when you're getting it to go on top of your hand from when you start with this momentum generating motion that I mentioned in the shadow tutorial. Hopefully that really long sentence made sense, but just basically it's slightly different to go into the shadow from a standstill like that, rather than from something that's already moving like the Twisted Sonic. So maybe you can practice by just doing that and letting the pen drop somewhere on top of your fingers or near your fingers at least. And if it falls off your hand after half a revolution or a revolution, that's fine. You just don't want the pen to immediately be going flying like that, because that means you don't have control over the pen. The pen will not be doing its 0.5 revolutions on top of your hand, as in you're not any step closer to being able to catch it or setting yourself up to a point where you can catch it if it's just flying immediately off like that. If it's at least on your hand somewhere, then you at least have hope that you can catch it when you actually try to catch it. But that's a little practice exercise for you. And just like how you catch the shadow, once you're ready, as in once you've done that Twisted Sonic part, you interrupt it, and then you go into the shadow. Once the pen gets to around here, then you just do that same bit that you do with the shadow. You open up this finger slot, let it slide in, and then you are home free. So that will do it for this trick. And actually, this is kind of a twofer video because if you were to, for example, I mentioned in my shadow tutorials in all of them that they pretty much start in any finger slot and can end in any finger slot, right? So you could do a Devil's Sonic, and because, or you can do Devil's Sonic like that, but if you wanted to, for example, because you are doing a shadow, you can move the pen and have it land anywhere else you want. So when you do it that way, and if you're to, for example, get it to go into the 2-3 finger slot, that's actually called a Devil's Around, right? So we learned arounds already. We learned like the thumb around, we learned the index around, the middle around, the ring around, etc. And in case this wasn't obvious, the pen in an around always returns to the same spot you started. That's why it's called an around. It goes around and then it comes back. So it goes around, comes around, right? And with the Devil's Sonic, you start off in the 2-3 finger slot, or you can anyway. That's where I'm teaching it now. You can obviously start in the 3-4 finger slot, but it starts in the 2-3 finger slot as I've been teaching it and goes up to the 1-2 finger slot. Since it's a shadow and since you can move a shadow to end anywhere along the hand in terms of the finger slots, if you were to manipulate so that it comes back to the 2-3 finger slot by manipulating the way that your shadow works, then that is called a Devil's Around. So this trick tutorial is a twofer, really. It is a Devil's Sonic and Devil's Around tutorial. So there you go. We kind of got two tricks to sort of practice for the next week while you wait for the next one. Not really. But anyway, that will do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe for more in the future. And I'll see you guys in the next video.